The monitors beeped in cold rhythm as Monica gripped the hospital bed rails, her knuckles white against the metal. Another contraction ripped through her body, and she bit down on her lip until she tasted blood. No one was supposed to give birth alone. Not like this. Breathe through it, the night nurse said, her voice the only warmth in the sterile county hospital room. You're almost there. Be real. If this was you abandoned by family and betrayed by your husband, what's the first thing you'd do? Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family. Enjoy the story. Monica nodded, sweat dripping down her temples as the pain peaked and receded like a merciless tide. Her phone lay silent on the side table. No calls, no texts, nothing from Ryan or her family. My husband, she started, then stopped herself. What was the point? While she fought through labor in this forgotten corner of Atlanta, Ryan was in Miami Beach with his latest conquest. The woman with chestnut hair and perfect teeth who'd been liking his Instagram posts for months. The woman he swore was just a business associate. 600 miles away, in a five-star hotel overlooking turquoise waters, crystal flutes clinked together. Ryan's laugh floated across the rooftop bar as he pulled the woman closer, his wedding ring conspicuously absent. To new beginnings, he said, his lips brushing against her ear as fireworks exploded over the Miami skyline. Back in the hospital room, Monica screamed. I see the head, the doctor announced, appearing between her legs after hours of absence. Push now. Monica bore down, her body splitting with fire as she brought forth life alone. The first cry pierced the air at 11:58 p.m., a girl with a powerful set of lungs and 10 perfect fingers. Wait, the doctor said, peering at the ultrasound screen. There's another one. Monica's eyes widened. Another? For minutes later, at 12:02 a.m., her son entered the world screaming his indignation. Twins. She'd been carrying twins, and somehow no one had noticed during her prenatal care at the budget clinic where she'd been forced to go after Ryan cut off her health insurance. Congratulations, the night nurse said, placing the swaddled babies in Monica's trembling arms. They're beautiful. They were. Perfect caramel skin, rosebud mouths, and tiny fists that already seemed to be fighting. Monica touched their cheeks with reverence, tears streaming down her face. In that moment, exhaustion gave way to a fierce, protective love that burned away everything else. What will you name them? The nurse asked. Monica looked down at her daughter. Zora, after the writer who never backed down. Then at her son. Miles, after the musician who changed everything. Names with backbone. Names with history. Names that would carry them through a world that might not always welcome them. As the babies dozed against her chest, Monica's phone lit up. Not with Ryan's call, but with a notification from a friend who followed Miami's social scene. A photo had just been posted by a society columnist. The caption read, Tech mogul Ryan Whitley spotted at Sunset Harbor with stunning mystery woman. Monica's thumb hovered over the screen. She shouldn't look. Not now. Not when her body was still trembling from birth, when her heart was simultaneously full and broken. But she clicked anyway. There he was, her husband of 3 years, champagne in hand, lips pressed against a stranger's neck. The woman's diamond bracelet caught the flash, throwing fractured light across her pale skin. Monica dropped the phone like it had burned her. 8 months ago, they'd lain in bed talking about names and nursery colors. He'd placed his hand on her still flat stomach and promised to build a world for their child. I'll be a better father than mine was, he'd whispered against her hair. Nothing else matters but you and this baby. Now she had 2 babies and no husband. 2 miraculous lives and a marriage that had flatlined without dignity or warning. 3 days later, Monica was discharged with prescription painkillers she couldn't afford to fill and postpartum instructions she'd have to follow alone. The nurse who'd been kind throughout her labor helped her to the hospital entrance. You've got this, she said, squeezing Monica's shoulder. And if you need anything at all, my number's on that card I slipped into your bag. Monica nodded, too exhausted to speak, as she settled the twins into their car seats. She'd ordered a rideshare with the last of her accessible funds. Ryan had frozen their joint accounts 2 weeks ago, claiming accounting irregularities that needed to be sorted out. The apartment felt empty when she finally got home, despite now holding 3 people instead of 1. She placed the sleeping babies in the bassinet she'd bought secondhand and checked her phone again. 12 missed calls from her mother, who'd refused to acknowledge her pregnancy for months, calling it a mistake and her marriage a disaster waiting to happen. No calls from Ryan, but there were 57 notifications. The photo had gone viral overnight, and strangers were commenting on her husband's infidelity across platforms. Some expressed sympathy for the poor pregnant wife, not knowing she'd already delivered. Others speculated that Ryan had upgraded with his new flame. Monica scrolled numbly, her postpartum body aching with emptiness and fullness all at once. Then she froze, her thumb hovering over an enlarged detail someone had posted. The bracelet on the other woman's wrist, the diamond pattern. She'd seen it before. Not identical, but similar enough to recognize the craftsmanship. It looked like a piece from the collection Ryan's grandmother had passed down. The same collection he'd told Monica was in a vault and not to be worn by anyone outside the bloodline. She zoomed in further, ignoring the cruel comments underneath. The setting was distinctive, the arrangement of stones particular to a specific jeweler in Charleston. And suddenly, Monica remembered something else, the estate documents she'd glimpsed in Ryan's office safe when looking for their marriage certificate. Documents with property listings and trust arrangements that mentioned blood heirs and legitimate issue. Zora whimpered from the bassinet, followed by Miles's stronger cry. Monica put down the phone and went to her children, lifting them both against her chest. "We're going to be okay," she whispered, a new resolve hardening in her voice. "And your father is about to learn that some mistakes cost more than others." Her phone buzzed again with another notification. Ryan and his mistress leaving the hotel, matching luggage in tow. Matching smiles. Matching lies. Have you ever been betrayed by the one person who promised to stand by you? What would you do if the moment you were most vulnerable became the moment you found your power? Some say forgiveness heals, but sometimes justice must come first. 2 weeks passed in a blur of sleepless nights and diaper changes. Monica moved through her days like a ghost, her body leaking milk and tears while her mind calculated survival. The viral photos of Ryan had faded from public interest, replaced by newer scandals, but they remained seared in her memory, especially that bracelet. She sat cross-legged on her bed, the twins finally asleep in their bassinet, and opened her laptop. Her fingers trembled as she typed Whitley Family Jewelry Collection into the search bar. Most results were society pages showing Ryan's mother draped in heirlooms at charity galas. But one link led to an auction catalog from 5 years ago. A piece had been sold from the collection. Impossible, Monica whispered. Ryan had told her the entire collection was bound by family trust, unbreakable and unsellable. My great-grandfather made sure no one could ever break up the collection or take it from the family. He'd explained when refusing to let her wear even the smallest piece to a gala. Only blood heirs can inherit, and nothing can ever be sold. But here was proof, a sapphire and diamond brooch, definitely from the collection, sold at auction. Monica's heart raced as she dug deeper, finding historical references to the collection's legal protections. They were tied to the same estate documents she remembered seeing in Ryan's safe. Her phone rang, Ryan's name flashing on the screen. 2 weeks of silence, and now he calls? She answered without speaking. "Monica." His voice was slurred, the background noisy with music and laughter. "You there?" "I'm here." "Listen, babe, I know things are complicated right now." He paused, his breath heavy. "But I'm handling it. The baby and everything. I just need some time to—" "Babies," she corrected. "We have twins, Ryan. A boy and a girl." Silence stretched between them. "Then twins? Are you serious?" "Deadly. Jésus, mon." He lowered his voice, moving somewhere quieter. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because you were busy with your girlfriend's neck while I was in labor." More silence. Then, unexpectedly, his voice dropped to a husky whisper. "Come on, Cassie, not now. I'm on the phone." Monica's blood froze. What did you just call me? Ryan's breath caught. Nothing. I didn't. You called me Cassie, the name of the woman from the photos. Are you with her right now? No. His denial was interrupted by a female giggle in the background, followed by what sounded like a kiss. Tell her you'll call back. The woman, presumably Cassie, purred loud enough for Monica to hear. I want to finish what we started in the elevator. Ryan groaned, forgetting the call wasn't muted. Baby, your mouth is magical, but you've got to give me 5 minutes. Monica hung up, her hands shaking with rage and humiliation. She'd just given birth to his children, was surviving on 4 hours of broken sleep a night, and he was receiving sexual favors in what sounded like a hotel room. Her laptop screen still showed the auction catalog. With renewed focus, she returned to her research, pulling up everything she could find on South Carolina inheritance laws and the Whitley estate. 3 hours later, as dawn broke over Atlanta, Monica had filled a notebook with information and a plan was forming. She picked up her phone and called a number on the card the kind nurse had given her. Diane Williams, a sleepy voice answered. It's Monica, from the hospital. I need a favor. 20 minutes later, she had the name of a family law attorney who offered free consultations. One who specialized in high-net-worth divorces and had a reputation for being ruthless. Monica looked at her sleeping twins, their tiny chests rising and falling in perfect rhythm. This isn't just about me anymore, she whispered. This is about what's rightfully yours. She showered quickly, the first proper shower since the hospital, and dressed in the only pre-pregnancy clothes that still fit, a stretchy black dress and flat shoes. Her body felt foreign, soft, and marked in new ways. But her mind was sharper than it had been in months. The law office was in downtown Atlanta, a modest building compared to the gleaming towers where Ryan's company occupied 3 floors. The attorney, Eliza Chun, listened without interruption as Monica explained her situation, showed her the viral photos, and detailed her discoveries about the Whitley estate and jewelry collection. So, you think the woman is wearing a piece from a collection that supposedly can't leave the family? Eliza clarified, studying the enlarged photo. Yes, and I think there's more to the estate than Ryan ever told me. Something connected to the twins' birthright. Eliza leaned back, her expression calculating. Mrs. Whitley, what exactly are you looking to achieve here? Monica met her gaze steadily. Security for my children. What's rightfully theirs by blood. And she took a deep breath. I want him to feel what I felt in that hospital room. Alone. Exposed. Powerless. The attorney's lips curved into a small smile. Then I suggest we start with a DNA test filing. Officially establish paternity through the courts. And while we're at it, she pulled out a form. Let's request full financial disclosure under Rule 26.2. What will that do? It will force Ryan to reveal every asset, account, and property interest under penalty of perjury, including any connected to those estate documents you mentioned. Monica took the pen Eliza offered. Where do I sign? Have you ever discovered that the person you married was keeping secrets worth millions? When does self-protection become righteous vengeance? Sometimes the system designed to keep you powerless contains the very tools you need to fight back. The DNA test paperwork felt heavy in Monica's hands as she left Eliza's office. This wasn't how she'd imagined her first weeks of motherhood. Legal filings and property research instead of baby showers and family visits. But Ryan had made his choice, and now she was making hers. Back home, with the twins fed and settled, Monica pulled a chair up to Ryan's office door. He'd locked it before leaving for Miami, but she'd watched him hide the spare key on the top door frame enough times. Her fingers found it easily. The office smelled like him, expensive cologne and leather, making her heart twist with unwanted longing. Focus, she told herself. This isn't about emotion anymore. She went straight to the painting behind his desk, swinging it forward to reveal the safe. The combination was their anniversary date, a sentimental choice that now seemed laughable. Inside were passports, some cash, and a thick manila envelope labeled Charleston Property, confidential. Monica's hands trembled as she opened it. Inside were yellow documents, some dating back to the late 1800s, detailing land acquisitions along South Carolina's coast. Most interesting was a trust document establishing that all Whitley properties were entailed to legitimate blood heirs, with specific language about direct patrilineal descent. She photographed everything with her phone, careful to return each page exactly as she'd found it. As she was about to close the safe, something caught her eye, a small jewelry box pushed to the back. Inside was a diamond ring that matched the pattern of the bracelet Ryan's mistress had been wearing. "You son of a bitch," she whispered, photographing the ring as well. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "We need to talk about what you're doing." Monica ignored it. Her parents had made their position clear months ago when she'd announced her pregnancy. Her father had called Ryan a mistake that will cost you everything, while her mother had simply said, "That man will never accept a child like yours as his heir." The racial undertones weren't even subtle. She defended Ryan then, believing their love transcended his family's old Southern money and her family's deep distrust of white wealth. Now she wondered if her parents had seen something she'd been too in love to notice. Later that evening, as she nursed Miles, her sister Vanessa called. "What are you doing, Mon?" Vanessa's voice was tense. "Mama says you're filing papers against Ryan's family." "I'm protecting my children by going after his money." "Girl, do you know what people are saying? That you trapped him, that the babies might not even be his. That's why I filed for the DNA test, to shut down those lies. But taking on the Whitleys? They're connected everywhere. Judges, politicians. I don't care. You should." Vanessa paused. "His father called Daddy yesterday." Monica sat up straighter, disturbing Miles, who began to fuss. "What? Why would William Whitley call our father?" "To negotiate. They're willing to set up a trust for the baby." "Babies? Twins? Fine, twins. A generous trust, college funds, everything. But you have to drop whatever you're doing with those property claims." Monica switched Miles to her other breast, buying time to control her anger. "They're scared. They're powerful. There's a difference. Not when they're calling to negotiate before I've even filed anything about the property." Monica smiled to herself. "They don't know what I know yet, but they're already worried." "What exactly did you find, Monica?" She considered how much to reveal, even to her sister. "Evidence that the Whitley fortune isn't as clean as they pretend, and that my children have a claim to parts of it that can't be negotiated away with a trust fund." "Mom, please, think about this. Ryan's family can make your life hell. They already have." Monica's voice hardened. "I gave birth alone, Vanessa, in a county hospital with no epidural because my insurance was accidentally canceled, while my husband celebrated with his mistress in Miami." Silence stretched between them. "I know," Vanessa finally said, her voice softer. "And I'm sorry I wasn't there. We all are." "No, you're not. You're sorry I'm causing problems now. There's a difference." After hanging up, Monica pulled out the notebook where she'd been documenting everything. According to her research, South Carolina had unique laws regarding inherited property, especially historic estates with specific entailment provisions. The language in Ryan's family documents created a direct blood connection that couldn't be broken. Not by divorce, not by settlements, not by anything except proving the children weren't legitimate heirs. Her phone rang again. Unknown number. "Mrs. Whitley?" A man's voice, formal and crisp. "This is James Patterson from the Whitley family office. Mr. Whitley Sr. would like to arrange a meeting with you at your earliest convenience." Monica's pulse quickened. William Whitley, Ryan's father, was the true power behind the family empire. He never dealt with problems directly unless they were significant threats. "Regarding what, Mr. Patterson?" "A private family matter that Mr. Whitley feels would be best discussed in person." "You mean my children's inheritance?" A pause. "Mr. Whitley prefers not to discuss specifics over the phone." "Then Mr. Whitley can speak to my attorney. I'll have her contact you to arrange a meeting." She hung up before he could respond, her mind racing. They were rattled enough to bring in the patriarch, which meant she was on the right track. Monica looked down at her sleeping daughter, Zora's tiny hand curled around her finger. "That's right," she whispered. "Grandpa's worried about what Mommy found. Would you use the same system designed to exclude you to fight for what belongs to your children?" How far would you go to secure their future when everyone expects you to accept the scraps offered? Sometimes the most dangerous weapon is hidden in plain sight, inside the very documents meant to keep power where it's always been. The courthouse clerk glanced up from Monica's filing, recognition dawning in her eyes. Whitley, as in Ryan Whitley's wife. Monica nodded, her expression neutral despite the flutter in her stomach. Public record meant public knowledge, and she prepared for this moment. DNA test and financial disclosure requests, the clerk murmured, stamping the forms. Just so you know, ma'am, reporters check these filings daily. I'm aware. Outside, Monica adjusted her sunglasses and quickened her pace toward the parking garage. 3, 2, 1. Mrs. Whitley? Jasmine Powell from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. A woman in her 30s stepped into Monica's path, recorder already extended. Right on schedule. Eliza had warned her that courthouse clerks often tipped off reporters about celebrity filings. No comment, Monica said, continuing to walk. Is it true you're seeking DNA tests for twins born while your husband was photographed in Miami with another woman? Monica stopped, turning slowly. This was the moment Eliza had coached her for. Appear reluctant but dignified, give just enough to shape the narrative. I'm a mother protecting her children. That's all I'll say. The story broke 3 hours later. By evening, it had spread from Atlanta to Charleston, where the Whitley family maintained their historic estate. Monica watched the coverage from her living room, twins asleep against her chest, as her phone exploded with notifications. Ryan called 7 times. She let go to voicemail. Her mother called twice, then texted, "Your father and I are coming to Atlanta tomorrow." This has gone too far. Several unknown numbers, likely reporters, left messages. But one voicemail caught her attention. "Mrs. Whitley, this is Diana Rodriguez from Spotlight Investigations. I've been researching the Whitley family for a piece on old Southern money. I think we should talk, not about gossip, but about patterns. Please call me." Monica replayed the message, intrigued by the word patterns. She was about to call back when her phone lit up with a FaceTime request from Cassie, the mistress herself. Heart pounding, Monica accepted. "You have some nerve," Cassie said immediately, her perfect features twisted with anger. She was in what looked like a luxury hotel room, the Miami skyline visible through floor-to-ceiling windows. "I could say the same. Do you have any idea what you've done? The story is everywhere. My parents are devastated. My job is calling about moral clauses in my contract." Monica laughed without humor. "Imagine that. Actions having consequences. Ryan told me you were separated, that your marriage was over except on paper. When did he tell you that? Before or after you accepted jewelry from his family's collection?" Cassie's hand moved unconsciously to her wrist, now conspicuously bare of the diamond bracelet. "That's not. He said it was just a gift. A gift that belongs to a collection legally tied to blood heirs of the Whitley family, meaning my children." Confusion flickered across Cassie's face. "What are you talking about? Ask Ryan about the entailment provisions on the Charleston estate and the jewelry collection. Ask him why his father is suddenly trying to negotiate with my family. Then see if he still wants to play house with you." Monica ended the call, her hands shaking but her resolve stronger than ever. She was taking a risk, showing her cards like this, but her instinct said Cassie might become an unintended ally once she realized she was just another pawn in the Whitley game. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Check your email. Diana Rodriguez." The email contained no message, just an attachment, a newspaper clipping from 15 years ago. The headline read, "Whitley heir settles paternity claim against family trust." The article detailed how Ryan's cousin had fathered a child with a former housekeeper, then fought the woman's claims to family assets despite DNA confirmation. Another text followed. "This wasn't the first case. I've documented 3 similar situations involving Whitley men. Different women, same pattern. Pregnancy, abandonment, legal battle, forced settlement with silence clauses. Would you be willing to talk? Off the record at first." Monica stared at her phone, a cold realization washing over her. This wasn't just about Ryan. This was a family pattern, a strategy. get involved with women from different backgrounds, father children, then use the family's power to minimize financial exposure and maintain control. She texted back, "Where can we meet?" Diana suggested a small coffee shop in a suburb north of Atlanta. "Neutral ground," she wrote. "No one will look for you there." As Monica arranged for a neighbor to watch the twins for an hour the next day, her doorbell rang. Through the peephole, she saw her parents standing side by side, grim-faced and travel-worn. "We caught an earlier flight," her mother said when Monica opened the door. This couldn't wait. Her father's eyes immediately sought out the twins in their bassinet. His expression softened momentarily before hardening again as he turned to Monica. "William Whitley called me personally," he said without preamble. "Whatever you're doing, you need to stop before you get hurt." Monica stood straighter. "Mean, but understand this. I'm not stopping anything. How many times have you stayed silent to keep the peace while others profited from your silence? When does exposing the truth become not just personal justice, but a necessary reckoning for those who've abused their power? Some families build their legacies on foundations of secrets. What happens when one woman refuses to be buried in the basement? The coffee shop was tucked between a laundromat and a used bookstore, its windows fogged with steam from the espresso machine. Monica arrived 20 minutes early, securing a corner table with a view of both the entrance and the back exit, just as Eliza had advised. "Trust no one until they've proven themselves," her attorney had warned that morning. The Whitleys have people everywhere. At precisely 10 a.m., a woman with short, gray-streaked hair and practical clothes entered, scanning the room with the practiced eye of someone who observed for a living. Diana Rodriguez had the compact build and alert posture of a boxer, small but clearly not to be underestimated. "Mrs. Whitley," she said, sliding into the chair across from Monica. "Thank you for meeting me. Call me Monica." Diana nodded, placing a recorder on the table but not turning it on. "This day's off until you say otherwise. I respect boundaries." "I appreciate that." Monica wrapped her hands around her coffee mug, drawing comfort from its warmth. "You mentioned patterns." "Yes." Diana pulled a slim folder from her messenger bag. "I've been tracking the Whitley family for 7 years, initially for a piece on generational wealth in the South. But I found something more interesting, a pattern of paternity cases that never make it to court." She opened the folder, revealing a timeline with photographs. Jessica Torres, 2008, worked as an event planner for Whitley Industries. Became pregnant by Ryan's cousin Patrick. Was fired for unrelated reasons during her second trimester. Filed a paternity suit, then suddenly dropped it and moved to Arizona. Monica studied the photo of a young Latina woman with a bright smile. Then there's Aisha Johnson, 2012. Law student who interned at the firm handling Whitley estate matters. Brief relationship with Ryan's Uncle James. Pregnancy, followed by academic irregularities that threatened her scholarship. Paternity suit filed, then withdrawn after she received a merit scholarship from an anonymous donor. Diana turned the page. And Bethany Crane, 2016. Photographer hired for the Whitley family reunion. Relationship with Ryan's brother Michael. She actually got as far as proving paternity through DNA before settling out of court with a strict non-disclosure agreement. Monica felt a chill despite the coffee shop's warmth. And they all followed the same legal strategy? Threats, isolation, then settlement. Exactly. Diana finally met Monica's eyes directly. "But you're different. You actually married into the family. Had not one, but 2 children who are undeniable heirs. And you've already filed court papers that can't be easily buried. Plus, I found the property documents." Diana leaned forward. "What property documents?" Monica hesitated, measuring how much to reveal. "Let's just say I discovered that certain Whitley assets are entailed specifically to blood heirs in ways that can't be negotiated away through typical settlements. The Charleston estate? The Riverside property?" Monica's surprise must have shown on her face because Diana smiled. "I've done my homework, Monica. The Whitley fortune isn't just from tech investments and banking. It's built on land that dates back to Reconstruction, land with complicated history and specific inheritance provisions. That's what I'm counting on." Monica took a sip of her coffee. My children can't be written out of their birthright through some settlement agreement. Not if I can prove direct bloodline connection to the entailed properties. Diana's eyes gleamed with interest. Would you be willing to talk to one of the other women? Off the record, completely confidential. Which one? Bethany Crane. She's still in Georgia, living about an hour from here. She's the only one who didn't move away after her settlement. Monica considered this. Connecting with another woman who'd been through a similar experience could provide insights, strategies, and emotional support she desperately needed. Set it up. 2 days later, Monica drove to a small farmhouse outside Macon, the twins secured in their car seats. She'd insisted on bringing them, partly because she was still nursing, but mostly because she needed Bethany to see them, to understand that this wasn't abstract for Monica. These were real children with real claims. Bethany Crane answered the door with a toddler on her hip, a boy around 3 with the unmistakable Whitley chin and eyes. "You brought them," she said, glancing at the twins in their carrier. "Good. Come in." The farmhouse was modest but warm, with children's artwork taped to the refrigerator and toys neatly organized in colorful bins. Bethany settled her son with a puzzle before joining Monica at the kitchen table. "That's Jackson," she said, nodding toward the boy. "Michael's son, though he's never met him. He looks just like his father. That was part of the problem." Bethany poured them both iced tea. The Whitleys don't mind their men spreading seed. They mind when the results are undeniable. Jackson could walk into a Whitley family reunion and everyone would know exactly who his father is. Monica placed her hand on the baby carrier where her twins slept. Ryan's father is already trying to negotiate, offering trusts, college funds, but not recognition, not the estate rights. Exactly. Bethany leaned forward. "Let me guess, they've also started examining your past, looking for anything they can use against you if this goes to court?" Monica nodded. "My sister mentioned something about opposition research. Standard procedure. They'll dig up every parking ticket, every ex-boyfriend, every college party photo. They'll try to paint you as a gold digger who trapped Ryan. They'll question your fitness as a mother. I've got nothing to hide. Neither did I." Bethany's voice turned bitter. "But they manufactured plenty. Suddenly former colleagues remembered me being unprofessional. Old friends received financial incentives to tell stories about my wild days. They even tried to access my therapy records." Monica felt a wave of anxiety. "How did you fight it?" "I didn't, not really." Bethany's eyes dropped to her hands. "I took the settlement. It seemed easier than watching my reputation get destroyed while fighting a legal battle that could last years." "Do you regret it?" Bethany was quiet for a moment, watching her son arrange puzzle pieces with careful concentration. "Every day," she finally said. "Not the money. We needed it. But the silence. The fact that Jackson will grow up without his father acknowledging him. The fact that the Whitleys get to keep pretending they're this perfect Southern dynasty." She reached across the table, gripping Monica's hand with surprising strength. "The settlement had a morality clause that prevented me from telling our story publicly. But it didn't say anything about helping another mother fight the same battle." "What can you tell me?" "Everything." Bethany stood, moving to a bookshelf where she removed a false back, revealing a stack of documents. Their playbook, their lawyers, their tactics, and most importantly, the prenup loophole I discovered too late to use myself. Prenup loophole. The Whitley marriage contracts all contain a morality clause that's triggered if either party commits infidelity. It's designed to protect the family assets if a Whitley wife cheats. But Ryan was the one who cheated. Bethany smiled for the first time. "Exactly. And there's specific language about how assets entailed to blood heirs are handled differently in case of infidelity by the Whitley spouse. Language that basically says the innocent spouse becomes the children's trustee with full rights to administer inherited property on their behalf." Monica's heart raced. "Are you saying—" "I'm saying Ryan handed you the keys to the kingdom when he cheated. If you can prove in court, which shouldn't be hard given those Miami photos, you could gain control of your children's inheritance directly. No settlements, no negotiations, just what the prenup itself dictates." For the first time since giving birth alone in that cold hospital room, Monica felt something like hope, but harder, sharper. Not just hope, but power. "I need to see that prenup language again," she said, already reaching for her phone to call Eliza. "If you discovered you weren't someone's first victim, but their family's pattern, would you seek personal justice or systemic change? When does fighting back become not just about you, but about every woman who was silenced before you?" Sometimes the most powerful weapon against generational abuse is simply refusing to be the last woman who tells her story. The Charleston skyline appeared through the airplane window, church steeples and antebellum mansions rising above modern buildings like ghosts refusing to fade. Monica adjusted the sleeping twins in their carrier, her body tense with anticipation. Coming to the Whitley family's home territory was a calculated risk, but she needed to see the property documents firsthand. "The car I arranged is waiting," Eliza said as they disembarked. "Hotel first, then county records office." Their hotel room overlooked the harbor, a view that would normally inspire awe but now felt like looking into enemy territory. Monica settled the twins with the babysitter Eliza had thoroughly vetted, then changed into a simple black dress, professional, unmemorable armor. "Remember," Eliza cautioned as they left, "Charleston is small when it comes to old money circles. Someone will recognize you, and word will get back to the Whitleys. We have maybe 3 hours before they know you're here." The county records office smelled of dust and paper, staffed by an elderly clerk who barely looked up when they entered. Eliza approached with a prepared list of document requests while Monica hung back, observing. This building held centuries of history, property transfers, birth records, marriage certificates, the paper trail of power changing hands among the same families for generations. "These records are in the historical archive," the clerk said, squinting at their list. "You'll need special permission to access those." Eliza smiled pleasantly. "We have a court order." She slid a document across the counter. The clerk's eyebrows rose slightly. "This is related to the Whitley Riverside property?" "Yes." "I see." The clerk's demeanor shifted subtly. "Follow me." They were led to a climate-controlled room in the basement, where the clerk unlocked a cabinet and withdrew several bound volumes. "These are the original property records from 1865 through 1892. And these," she pulled out another set, "are the trust documents establishing the entailment provisions. Sign here acknowledging you won't remove or damage anything." Left alone with the materials, Monica and Eliza worked methodically, photographing relevant pages and taking careful notes. The language was dense with legal terminology from another century, but the core provisions were clear. The Riverside plantation lands were entailed to legitimate blood descendants of the Whitley line in perpetuity. "Look at this," Monica whispered, pointing to a paragraph near the end of the trust document. "There's specific language about children born to any lawful wife of a Whitley heir having direct inheritance rights that cannot be abrogated by divorce or subsequent arrangements." Eliza nodded, excitement in her usually composed face. "This is exactly what we needed. Combined with the prenup's infidelity clause, this creates an unbreakable claim for your twins." They were so engrossed that neither noticed the door opening until a throat cleared behind them. They turned to find a tall man in an expensive suit watching them with cold blue eyes exactly like Ryan's. "Mrs. Whitley," William Whitley Sr. said, his Charleston accent thick as honey. "What a surprise to find you in our fair city." Monica stood, spine straight, chin lifted. "Mr. Whitley, I wasn't aware the county records office belonged to your family." A tight smile. "Charleston is a small town for some matters. Word travels when people start digging into certain family histories. Public records," Eliza interjected smoothly, "available to anyone with legitimate interest." William's gaze never left Monica. "And what legitimate interest does my daughter-in-law have in century-old property records?" "The same interest any mother has in her children's inheritance." Monica held his gaze, especially when that inheritance has been deliberately concealed. Something flickered across William's face, not quite anger, not quite respect. "I'd like to speak with you privately, Monica. Anything you have to say can be said in front of my attorney." "Very well." He gestured to the chairs. Shall we sit like civilized people? The conversation that followed was a masterclass in Southern power dynamics. All polite phrases and deadly undertones. William offered increasingly generous settlement terms while carefully avoiding any acknowledgement of the twins' legal rights to the property. Monica refused each offer with equal politeness, watching frustration build behind his practiced smile. My grandchildren deserve their birthright, William finally said, switching tactics. No one disputes that, but these matters are complex. The property has been in continuous family control for generations, and it will remain so, Monica replied, through my children, who are Whitleys by blood, regardless of how their father has behaved. Ryan made mistakes, William conceded, grievous ones, but destroying a family legacy over marital trouble seems excessive. I'm not destroying anything. I'm preserving my children's rights. William studied her, reassessing. You know, when Ryan first brought you home, I told him you wouldn't last a Charleston summer. Too direct, too independent. A small, unexpected smile touched his lips. I was wrong about the first part, perhaps about the second as well. He stood, buttoning his jacket with manicured hands. I'm hosting a reception at the Riverside property tomorrow evening. Family, close friends, a few business associates. Perhaps you consider attending. Seeing the estate yourself might provide perspective. Monica glanced at Eliza, who gave a subtle nod. We'll be there, Monica said. All three of us. William's eyes narrowed. The children, too? They're who this is about, aren't they? Time the Whitley family met its newest heirs. After he left, Eliza exhaled sharply. That was either very smart or very dangerous. Both, Monica said, returning to the documents. But now we know they're worried. Worried enough for the patriarch himself to show up and invite us into the lion's den. Later, in their hotel room, Monica fed the twins while watching the sun set over Charleston Harbor. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Meet me at the hotel bar. 9 p.m. Come alone. Alexander Whitley. Who's Alexander Whitley? She asked Eliza, showing her the text. Ryan's cousin. Black sheep of the family, from what my research shows. Fell out with William years ago over some business dispute. Lives in Charleston, but keeps his distance from family matters. Should I meet him? Eliza considered. Yes, but not alone. I'll sit nearby. If he has inside information, it could be valuable. At 9 sharp, Monica entered the dimly lit hotel bar, spotting a man in the corner booth who could only be a Whitley. Same jawline as Ryan. Same confident posture. But unlike the other Whitleys she'd met, Alexander's eyes held genuine warmth when he stood to greet her. Thank you for coming, he said, his accent less pronounced than his uncle's. I've been following your case with interest. My case? Your fight. He gestured for her to sit. Not many people stand up to the Whitley machine. Fewer win. What makes you think I'll win? Alexander smiled, a flash of unexpected charm. Because you've already found their weakness, the entailment provisions. The same ones I tried to use during my disagreement with Uncle William. Monica leaned forward. You know about the Riverside property restrictions? Know about them? I tried to enforce them. That's why I'm a family outcast. He signaled the bartender. The official story is that I was caught embezzling from the family business. The truth is that I discovered something in those old records that threatened William's control of everything. What did you find? Alexander's eyes met hers, measuring her readiness for whatever he was about to reveal. Have you ever wondered why the Whitleys are so obsessed with controlling who has access to the family estate? Why legitimate bloodlines matter so much to them? Monica thought of the twins sleeping in her hotel room, their future entangled with centuries of Whitley history. Tell me, have you ever walked straight into the den of those who wanted to destroy you and discovered your fear had become power? What gives ordinary people the courage to confront generations of entrenched wealth and privilege? Sometimes the battlefield isn't chosen, it's inherited. The call came at dawn, her mother's voice tight with concern. We just checked into the hotel. Your father's not happy about this, Monica. Monica balanced her phone while changing Miles's diaper. I didn't ask you to come to Charleston. William Whitley called your father personally. Said you were making a spectacle, bringing those babies to some important family event. That spectacle is his grandchildren meeting their family. Her mother sighed. Can we at least see you before this reception? Talk some sense into you. You can see your grandchildren, Monica conceded. But there's no sense to be talked into me. I'm doing what's right. An hour later, her parents knocked on the hotel suite door. The reunion was stiff, her father barely looking at the twins while her mother cooed over them with performative enthusiasm. The underlying tension broke when her father finally spoke. William offered $2 million each for the children. Monica continued dressing Zora in a pale yellow outfit. Did he mention that the property they have rights to is worth close to $50 million? Her parents exchanged glances. That's speculation, her father said. This is guaranteed money. No court battles, no publicity, no dragged-out fight that could follow these kids their whole lives. It's their birthright. It's pride, her mother countered. You're using these babies to get back at Ryan for humiliating you. Monica set Zora in her carrier and turned to face her parents fully. Is that what you think? That this is about wounded pride? What else explains turning down millions of dollars? Justice. Legacy. The truth. Monica picked up her phone, showing them photos of the property documents. The Whitley fortune isn't just money. It's land, history, power. My children deserve their place in that history, not a payoff to disappear. Her father paced the hotel room. You don't understand what you're up against. William didn't just call to offer money. He mentioned things. What things? Your college boyfriend. That party sophomore year. The disciplinary hearing that almost got you expelled. Cold washed through Monica. He's digging into my past. They have investigators, her father confirmed. People who can spin anything into a story that makes you look unfit. Let them try. Monica lifted her chin. I have nothing to hide. Everyone has something to hide, her mother said quietly. And the Whitleys have enough money to make nothing look like something. Understanding dawned as Monica studied her parents' worried faces. They got to you, didn't they? Offered you something too. Her father couldn't meet her eyes. What was it? Money? Connections? A position on some board? Your father's business is struggling, her mother admitted. William offered a contract that would save it. If we could persuade you to be reasonable. The betrayal stung, though it shouldn't have surprised her. Her parents had always valued stability over justice, compromise over confrontation. It was why they disowned her when she'd announced her pregnancy. Fear of disruption, of standing out, of challenging the status quo. I see. Monica's voice was calm despite the storm inside her. So you came to sell me out, not support me. We came to protect you. No, you came to protect yourselves. She checked her watch. I have a meeting with Eliza in 20 minutes. You're welcome to stay with the twins if you want to actually be grandparents. Otherwise, there's nothing left to discuss. After her parents left, her mother in tears, her father in stony silence, Monica met Eliza in the hotel restaurant. The attorney was reviewing documents when Monica arrived, her expression serious. We have a problem, Eliza said without preamble. William's team filed a motion questioning your fitness as a mother. On what grounds? They're claiming postpartum mental instability, saying your pursuit of these property claims shows delusional thinking and vindictive behavior harmful to the children's well-being. Monica's laugh held no humor. Classic. When they can't attack the claim, they attack the claimant. It gets worse. They petitioned for emergency temporary custody, pending psychiatric evaluation. The restaurant seemed to tilt around Monica. They want to take my babies. They want to scare you into settling, Eliza clarified. But yes, technically, they're asking the court to grant Ryan temporary custody. Ryan doesn't even know which baby is which. He hasn't seen them once since they were born. I know. It's a legal tactic, not a genuine custody bid. Eliza covered Monica's trembling hand with her own. But it means we need to be extremely careful at this reception tonight. They'll be watching for any behavior they can use against you. That evening, Monica dressed with particular care. A simple blue dress, modest jewelry, hair pulled back in a neat twist. She looked like exactly what she was, a young mother attending a family function. Nothing flamboyant, nothing that could be interpreted as unstable or attention-seeking. The riverside property took her breath away despite her tension. Situated on a bend in the Cooper River, the colonial mansion rose like a white dream against the darkening sky, its columns gleaming in the last rays of sunset. Manicured gardens swept down to a private dock where several yachts were moored. This wasn't just a house. It was a monument to generational wealth, to power maintained through centuries of careful planning and strategic marriages. And her children were heirs to all of it. William greeted them at the entrance, his smile not reaching his eyes. "Monica, so glad you could join us." His gaze fell to the twin carriers. "And these must be my grandchildren, Zora and Miles," Monica said, noting how William flinched slightly at the distinctly non-Whitley name she'd chosen. "Lovely. Well, do come in. The family is eager to meet you all." As they entered the grand foyer, conversations hushed. Dozens of eyes turned to examine them, some curious, some hostile, all assessing. Monica felt a text vibrate in her clutch. From Alexander. "Don't eat or drink anything they offer you. Not paranoia. Precaution. How many times have you chosen loyalty to those who've hurt you over justice for yourself? What would it take for you to finally put yourself first?" When family becomes both weapon and battlefield, sometimes the bravest act is simply showing up with your truth. The Charleston County Courthouse stood like a limestone fortress against the morning sky, its columns and pediments a reminder of who built the legal system and whom it was designed to serve. Monica climbed the steps with Eliza beside her, aware of photographers documenting their arrival. This preliminary hearing would determine whether her claim to the riverside property on behalf of her children had enough merit to proceed to trial. Inside, the wood-paneled courtroom already hummed with tension. The Whitley family occupied the front row behind their team of attorneys. William in the center, Ryan conspicuously at his side for the first time since the Miami photos surfaced. Monica kept her eyes forward, refusing to acknowledge her husband's presence. "All rise," the bailiff called as Judge Eleanor Patterson entered. A stern-faced black woman in her 60s with a reputation for impartiality that had survived numerous attempts by wealthy families to influence her rulings. "Be seated," Judge Patterson said, adjusting her glasses as she reviewed the case file. "We're here on preliminary motions regarding Whitley versus Whitley, a petition concerning inheritance rights and property entailment. Let's begin with a motion to dismiss filed by the defendants." The Whitleys' lead attorney rose, a silver-haired man whose family had probably opposed Judge Patterson's appointment. "Your Honor, this case represents an unfortunate attempt to leverage a marital dispute into an attack on long-established family trusts. The plaintiff, Mrs. Monica Whitley, is using these proceedings to extract a more favorable divorce settlement from her husband, Mr. Ryan Whitley." "Is that so?" Judge Patterson's gaze shifted to Eliza. "Counselor," Eliza stood, her voice clear and confident. "Your Honor, this case has nothing to do with divorce proceedings, which haven't even been filed. This is solely about establishing the inheritance rights of two minor children under the specific entailment provisions of the Whitley Family Trust established in 1867. And these provisions are relevant because they explicitly state that legitimate children born to any lawful wife of a Whitley heir have direct inheritance rights to the entailed properties, rights that cannot be abrogated by any subsequent family action." Eliza approached the bench, offering documents. "We've included the original trust language, along with precedent cases affirming the binding nature of such entailments in South Carolina law." Judge Patterson reviewed the materials, her expression giving nothing away. "And the defendant's position on these entailment provisions?" The Whitley attorney stepped forward again. "We don't dispute the existence of these historic provisions, Your Honor. However, we contend they've been superseded by subsequent family trust amendments made in 1945 and again in 1972. Amendments that would require all trustees to have approved," Eliza countered, "including representatives of all blood heirs, which would include Mrs. Whitley's children once paternity is established. The legal arguments continued for nearly an hour, with complex discussions of trust law and historic property rights. Throughout, Monica maintained perfect composure, even when the Whitley attorney referenced the plaintiff's questionable motives and mental state. Finally, Judge Patterson removed her glasses. "I've heard enough. The motion to dismiss is denied. These entailment provisions raise legitimate questions of inheritance rights that deserve full examination." Additionally, she fixed the Whitley attorney with a stern look. "I'm dismissing the emergency custody petition as without merit and potentially frivolous. If filed again without substantial new evidence, I'll consider sanctions." Relief washed through Monica, though she kept her expression neutral. The first hurdle cleared. "We will proceed with DNA testing to establish paternity," Judge Patterson continued. "Though given Mr. Whitley is listed on the birth certificates and was married to the mother at time of birth, I consider this largely a formality." She checked her calendar. "We'll reconvene in 3 weeks for a full hearing on the entailment claims." Court adjourned. As people began filing out, Ryan approached Monica. The first time they'd been face-to-face since before the twins' birth. He looked thinner, his eyes shadowed with what might have been sleepless nights or too much partying. "Monica," he said, his voice low, "we need to talk. Through our attorneys." "No, just us." His hand moved toward hers, then stopped. "This has gotten out of hand. Let me see my children. Let's work this out privately." Monica studied the man she'd once loved enough to build a life with. "Where was this concern when I was giving birth alone? I made a terrible mistake. I know that." His eyes held something that might have been genuine regret. "But dragging the family through court, exposing private matters, it doesn't help anyone. Least of all Zora and Miles." The sound of their names on his lips sent an unexpected pang through her chest. "You remember their names?" "Of course I do. They're my children. Children you haven't asked to see until a judge denied your family's motion to take them from me." Ryan winced. "That wasn't my idea. My father is doing exactly what you're allowing him to do." Monica gathered her belongings. "If you want to see your children, file a proper visitation request. If you want to discuss settlement, talk to Eliza. And if I want my wife back." The question caught her off guard, as did the naked longing in his voice. For a moment, memories flooded back. Their first date when he'd quoted her favorite poet, the night he'd proposed under a meteor shower, quiet mornings wrapped in each other's arms. But then came the hospital room, cold and empty, while she brought their children into the world alone. "That wife doesn't exist anymore," she said finally. "You killed her." Outside the courthouse, reporters shouted questions, but Monica navigated through them without comment, following Eliza to their waiting car. Once inside, she finally allowed herself to exhale. "That went better than expected," Eliza said, checking her notes. "Judge Patterson is giving us everything we asked for procedurally." "What about Ryan's custody rights?" "He's entitled to visitation, but given his absence since birth, we can argue for supervised visits initially." Eliza glanced at Monica. "You okay?" That looked intense. "He asked if I wanted to reconcile." "And do you?" Monica watched Charleston pass outside the window. The historic homes, the carefully preserved facades, hiding centuries of complicated history. "No," she said finally, "but something's off. Ryan doesn't surrender easily, and that felt like the beginning of surrender." Her phone buzzed with a text from Alexander. "Need to talk. Museum Cafe, 2 p.m. Crucial information about the hearing. When someone who shattered your heart tries to reclaim you, what speaks louder? Your body's memory or your mind's determination? Be honest about which one you'd listen to." When power and love are entangled, sometimes the hardest choice is distinguishing between genuine remorse and tactical retreat. The headline appeared on Monica's phone just as she was leaving for the museum cafe. "Whitley Patriarch hospitalized after courthouse collapse." The accompanying photo showed William Whitley being loaded into an ambulance, Ryan at his side, looking genuinely distraught. Alexander was already waiting when she arrived, his expression grim as he pushed a coffee toward her. "You've heard. Just saw the headline." "What happened?" "Massive stroke. Right after the hearing. Alexander stirred his coffee methodically. The doctors are saying it was brewing for weeks. Stress, high blood pressure, the usual culprits. But the timing makes it look like my fault, Monica finished. In some circles, yes. The family is already spinning it that way. The stress of your vindictive claims, pushing an elderly patriarch to the brink. Monica sipped her coffee, processing this development. Is he going to recover? Partially, maybe. They've got the best neurologists in the Southeast flying in. But even best case, he won't be the same William who's controlled the family for 40 years. Alexander leaned forward, which means everything's in flux now. Power vacuum, succession questions, different factions forming. Where does Ryan stand in all this? That's the interesting part. Ryan's always been William's favorite, groomed to eventually take over. But the Miami scandal damaged his standing. Some board members and family elders are questioning his judgment. Monica thought of Ryan's courthouse approach, the unusual humility, the request for reconciliation. So he needs to rehabilitate his image. Exactly. And nothing says responsible heir like reconciling with his wife and embracing fatherhood. Alexander's smile was cynical. Convenient timing, wouldn't you say? Very. Monica stirred her coffee, thinking, what about the property claim? That's why I needed to see you. With William incapacitated, decisions fall to the Family Trust Committee. 5 members, including Ryan and his Uncle James. I have information suggesting they're planning to liquidate certain assets before your claim can be adjudicated. Can they do that? Not legally, given the pending litigation. But they could create enough financial complications to tie everything up for years. Alexander hesitated. There's something else. William's asked to see you. Monica nearly choked on her coffee. Me? What? He regained consciousness briefly this morning. Asked for you specifically. Not Ryan. Not his wife. You. It could be a trap. Something to make me look bad. Maybe. Or maybe a man facing his mortality has things to say. Alexander checked his watch. He's at Charleston Memorial. Private wing, obviously. I can get you in without the family knowing if you want to go. The hospital's VIP wing existed in a different reality from the county hospital where Monica had given birth. Hushed corridors, original artwork, private nurses with advanced degrees. Alexander led her through a service entrance, nodding to staff who clearly knew him. 5 minutes, he whispered, stopping outside a door guarded by a private security officer. I'll distract the nurse on duty. Inside, machines beeped softly, monitoring the frail figure in the bed. William Whitley looked shockingly diminished, his commanding presence reduced to papery skin and labored breathing. One side of his face drooped slightly, but his eyes, Ryan's eyes, were alert and fixed on her immediately. You came, he said, his voice a rasp. You asked. Monica remained standing near the door, wary. Seat, please. He gestured weakly to a chair beside the bed. She complied, maintaining distance. Why did you want to see me? William's damaged face attempted what might have been a smile. Everyone else lies to me now. You never did. No, I didn't. The babies. They're well. The question seemed genuinely concerned, surprising her. They're thriving. Good. One mistake. Monica's calm nearly shattered. You abandoned me during childbirth. You cheated repeatedly. You tried to deny your own children's heritage. Those are mistakes, Ryan. They're choices. He ran his hands through his disheveled hair. What do you want? Just tell me what it will take to end this. Justice for my children. Recognition of their rights. And accountability from you. Ryan laughed bitterly. You sound like a press release. And you sound like a man who's only sorry he got caught. Monica turned to leave. Wait. His voice broke. Please. I'll do anything. The interview. Don't let them air it. I'm begging you. When your personal happiness conflicts with your strategic goals, which do you sacrifice? The choice reveals what you truly value most. Is revenge served cold, or is justice best achieved in the light? Sometimes the greatest power comes not from destroying your enemies, but from letting them see exactly who you've become in their absence. The twins' wails pierced Monica's dream, dragging her into consciousness just as her hotel room door clicked shut. She bolted upright, heart pounding, eyes straining in the darkness. Had someone just left? Or entered? She reached for her phone, finding it missing from the nightstand where she always kept it. The twins continued crying from their travel cribs beside her bed. "It's okay," she soothed, lifting Miles first, then Zora. "Mommy's here." Her eyes adjusted to the dim light filtering through the curtains. The room appeared undisturbed, yet something felt wrong. She settled the babies against her chest and scanned the space more carefully. The door to the adjoining room where Eliza stayed was still closed. Nothing seemed out of place except the diary. William's diary had been on the desk, and now it wasn't. Monica carefully placed the calming twins back in their cribs and moved cautiously to the hotel phone, calling security. Within minutes, a night manager and security officer were reviewing hallway footage while Eliza, now awake, stayed with the twins. There, the security officer pointed to the screen. 2:17 nachts. Someone used a key card to enter your room. The grainy footage showed a slender figure in a hoodie, face carefully angled away from cameras. "How did they get key card?" Monica demanded. The night manager looked uncomfortable. "We're investigating that. It appears someone claiming to be your husband requested a replacement key at the front desk earlier tonight. And you gave it to them without verification?" The person knew all the security questions: your home address, date of birth, the names of your children. Basic information anyone could find. Monica's fear morphed into anger. "My phone is missing, and so is a personal item of significant value." By morning, hotel security had determined the intruder had exited through a service door, avoiding main lobbies where cameras might capture a clearer image. Monica's phone was discovered in a stairwell, wiped clean to factory settings. This wasn't a random theft, Eliza said as they met with a private security consultant she'd called in. Someone wanted access to your phone data and that diary. The Whitleys, Monica concluded. "Possibly," said Jack Harris, the security consultant. "But professional jobs usually don't leave evidence behind. This feels more personal, desperate." "Ryan," Monica said quietly. "After our confrontation yesterday, he was desperate to stop the interview from airing." The diary contained potentially damaging information about the family, Eliza added. "And your phone would have had communications about your legal strategy. We need to move you immediately," Harris decided. "This hotel security has been compromised. I know a private residence we can use, full security system, limited access points." As they packed hurriedly, Monica's borrowed phone buzzed with a text from Diana. Interview generating massive pre-air buzz. Network moving it to prime time tonight. Need your final approval on edit by noon. Then another message arrived from an unknown number with an attachment. Monica opened it to find photos of the twins' daycare in Atlanta. The message read simply, "Some things matter more than money." Her hand shook as she showed Eliza and Harris. "That's a threat," Harris said immediately. "We need to contact law enforcement." And play right into their hands, Monica countered. "They want me to look unstable, claiming threats, demanding police protection. It's part of their unfit mother narrative." "This isn't about narrative anymore," Eliza argued. "This is about your children's safety, which is exactly why we handle this carefully." Monica forwarded the message to Eliza's secure email. "Document everything, but we move strategically, not reactively." They relocated to a gated property outside Charleston, a modernist house nestled among live oaks dripping with Spanish moss. Harris installed additional security measures while Monica tried to focus on reviewing the interview edit Diana had sent. "The piece is powerful," Eliza noted, watching over Monica's shoulder. "Sympathetic, but not saccharine. You come across as reasonable and determined. Will it air tonight as planned? Unless you say otherwise." Monica studied the final cut, weighing her options. The theft of the diary and her phone, followed by the threatening message, suggested the Whitleys were growing desperate. Would airing the interview escalate the situation further? Or would backing down now signal weakness they would exploit? Her new phone rang. Alexander Whitley. "Don't react visibly," he said without preamble. "Your security has been compromised again. I just intercepted communication suggesting your current location is known. Monica maintained her neutral expression for the benefit of anyone who might be watching. How? I don't know yet, but you need to alter plans immediately. I'm texting an address, somewhere no one in the family knows about. Go there now, different route than planned. After disconnecting, Monica calmly informed Eliza and Harris about the new threat, watching Harris sweep the room for listening devices while Eliza repacked essentials. There's something I don't understand, Monica said as they hurried to the car. How would someone know to look for William's diary? Only a few people knew he gave it to me. The nurse, Eliza suggested. Hospital security. Anyone who might have overheard. Or someone William told directly. Monica fastened the twins into their car seats. I'm starting to think we're fighting the wrong enemy. As they drove through back roads, taking a circuitous route to Alexander's safe house, Monica's borrowed phone buzzed with another message. A video attachment from the same unknown number. The footage showed Ryan secretly entering her Atlanta apartment when she wasn't home, searching through drawers and closets with increasing frustration before finally leaving empty-handed. The message below read, "He's looking for something specific, something that could destroy everything. When threats target your children, principles become negotiable. But when enemies are willing to cross that line, does protecting your family mean retreat? Or advancing so decisively they never threaten you again? Sometimes security isn't found in walls and cameras, but in understanding exactly what your adversary fears losing most." The law offices of Pearson, Hendricks, and White occupied the top floor of Charleston's second tallest building, the kind of firm that represented old money and never lost. Monica sat beside Eliza at the gleaming conference table, the twins with a security-vetted nanny in an adjacent room. Across from them, Ryan and his attorney waited in uncomfortable silence for William Whitley's lawyer to begin. 3 days had passed since the security breach. Diana's interview had aired to national attention, sending Whitley Industries stock tumbling another 12% and prompting an emergency board meeting. Now, suddenly, the family wanted to talk settlement. James Patterson, William's personal attorney for 30 years, cleared his throat. Thank you all for coming on such short notice. In light of recent developments, the Whitley family would like to propose a comprehensive settlement of all outstanding issues. He slid identical folders to Monica and Eliza, who opened them in unison. Monica maintained her neutral expression despite the shock at the numbers before her. $20 million, Patterson continued, to be placed in irrevocable trust for the twins. Full college funds, a house in Monica's name, monthly support payments significantly above standard guidelines, and a lump sum of $5 million for Monica personally. In exchange for? Eliza asked, though they all knew the answer. Full confidentiality regarding all Whitley family matters, withdrawal of the property entailment claims, and an agreement to limit public discussions of family history. Monica flipped through the detailed proposal, noting the carefully crafted language designed to protect the Whitley reputation above all. And custody? Joint legal custody. Primary physical custody with Monica. Generous visitation for Ryan. Patterson nodded toward Ryan, who had remained conspicuously silent. The family acknowledges the twins should remain primarily with their mother. Eliza made a show of reviewing the numbers. The financial terms are significant. However, we have concerns about the confidentiality provisions. They're extraordinarily broad. The family requires privacy, Patterson responded smoothly. Recent media attention has been disruptive to business interests. You mean it's exposed truths the Whitleys would prefer remained hidden, Monica said, finally breaking her silence. Like the pattern of abandoned women and children. The duplicate heirloom jewelry. The offshore accounts. Ryan flinched visibly, while his attorney whispered something urgent in his ear. Mrs. Whitley, Patterson continued, unruffled. This offer represents generosity that few in your position would receive. I urge you to consider it carefully. We'll need time to review, Eliza interjected, and we'll have amendments to propose. Of course, we can reconvene tomorrow morning. As the meeting concluded, Ryan caught Monica's arm in the hallway. Can we talk? Privately, Eliza raised an eyebrow in question. 5 minutes, Monica agreed. In the reception area, where everyone can see us. Once seated in the sleek waiting room, visible to receptionists and passing attorneys, Ryan leaned forward, his voice low. Take the deal, Monica. It's more than fair. Is it? The Riverside property alone is worth 4 times what you're offering. This isn't about money. It's about ending this before more damage is done. His eyes held something she couldn't quite identify, fear but not of her. My father's health is deteriorating. The company's stock is in free fall. Board members are questioning my leadership. Actions have consequences, Ryan. This isn't just about me anymore. He glanced around before continuing. There are things you don't understand. Things that could hurt people beyond our family. Like what? He hesitated. I can't tell you. But please, take the settlement. Walk away from the property claims. For everyone's sake, including the twins. Back at the safe house, Monica paced while Eliza analyzed the settlement document line by line. Alexander had joined them, his expression grave as he reviewed the terms. It's a serious offer, he admitted. More generous than I expected, but still significantly less than what the property rights are worth, Eliza countered. And these confidentiality provisions are suffocating. Monica couldn't so much as write a memoir without their approval. Monica stopped pacing, watching her twins sleep peacefully in their portable cribs. What's your advice? Alexander and Eliza exchanged glances. Financially, we could push for more, Eliza began. But there's a risk in prolonging this fight. The security threats, the potential for escalation. The peace of knowing it's over has value too, Alexander added. Taking this deal means financial security for your children without years of litigation. But it also means allowing the pattern to continue, Monica said quietly. Other women, other children, written out of the Whitley story with checks and NDAs. Her phone buzzed with a call from Cassie. They approached me too, Cassie said without preamble. $2 million for the baby and my silence. Are you taking it? I'm considering it. Cassie's voice wavered. I want to fight alongside you, but I'm scared, Monica. That break-in at your hotel, the threats. I'm not as strong as you. You're stronger than you think. Maybe, but I'm also alone and pregnant with a target on my back. A pause. If you take their deal, I probably will too. After they disconnected, Monica sat heavily on the sofa. They're approaching everyone simultaneously. Cassie, probably Bethany too, trying to close all vulnerabilities at once. Classic crisis management, Alexander noted. Contain the damage by silence, move on. If I sign, Monica asked, what happens to the diary they stole? The evidence of their pattern? Does it all just disappear? Most likely, Eliza said. Family histories get rewritten by those with the power to enforce silence. Monica walked to the window, staring out at the live oaks surrounding the property. In the distance, the Cooper River gleamed in the afternoon sun. The same river that bordered the Whitley estate, where generations had built and protected their legacy through whatever means necessary. Her phone buzzed again, a text from Diana. Network wants follow-up interview. Ratings were massive. Interested. Before she could respond, another message arrived, this one from her mother, your father, and I think you should take the money. In this fight, before someone gets hurt. Those babies need stability, not a crusade. The weight of expectations pressed on her from all sides. Her parents urging compromise, Eliza cautioning about practical realities, Alexander hinting at acceptance, Cassie wavering in her resolve. Only the twins made no demands, sleeping peacefully, unaware that their future was being negotiated in leather-bound folders and confidentiality clauses. Monica picked up the settlement agreement, reading the signature line where she would relinquish claims to historic rights in exchange for modern comfort. $25 million to walk away, to be silent, to let the pattern continue. I need to think, she said finally, alone. When offered life-changing money that comes with silence, would you take financial security or fight for full justice? The world often forces this impossible choice. But sometimes the most important question isn't how much they're offering, but why they're so desperate for you to take it. Morning sunlight gleamed off the limestone columns of the Charleston County Courthouse as Monica ascended the steps, twins secured in their double stroller. Cameras flashed, reporters called questions, but she moved forward with steady purpose, Eliza at her side and a security detail creating a path through the crowd. "Mrs. Whitley, are you signing the settlement today?" "Monica, any comment on Ryan's statement about reconciliation? Is it true you're getting $25 million? The settlement signing was scheduled for 10 a.m. in Judge Patterson's chambers, a private conclusion to what had become a very public battle. News of the deal had leaked overnight, financial reporters already analyzing how Whitley Industries stock might recover once the uncertainty ended. Inside the courthouse, Ryan waited with his attorney and James Patterson. His eyes widened slightly at the sight of the twins, whom he hadn't seen in person since their birth. "You brought them," he said quietly. "They're what this is about," Monica replied. "I wanted them here." Judge Patterson welcomed them into her chambers, her expression neutral as she reviewed the finalized settlement agreement. "I understand all parties have reached an acceptable resolution?" "Yes, Your Honor," Ryan's attorney confirmed. "Mrs. Whitley?" Judge Patterson looked directly at Monica. "You're satisfied with these terms?" Monica felt every eye in the room on her. The weight of the moment pressed against her chest, the culmination of months of struggle, threats, and strategic maneuvers. $25 million for her signature, security for her children, an end to the fight. She reached into her purse, removing a single sheet of paper. "Before I answer, I'd like to submit this into the record." Ryan tensed visibly as Monica handed the document to Judge Patterson, who studied it with increasing interest. "This appears to be a laboratory authentication report," the judge noted. "Regarding a diary." "Yes, Your Honor. A diary given to me by William Whitley before his stroke. The same diary that was stolen from my hotel room in what I believe was an attempt to suppress its contents." Ryan half rose from his chair. "Your Honor, this is not relevant to today's settlement." "I'm making it relevant," Monica interrupted. "Because this settlement isn't just about money. It's about truth and accountability." Judge Patterson raised an eyebrow. "Continue, Mrs. Whitley." "The diary belonged to Elizabeth Whitley, William's mother. It details how she used these same entailment provisions in 1947 to protect her children's inheritance when her husband's infidelity threatened their position. But it also contains something else, evidence that the Riverside property was originally acquired through fraudulent means." James Patterson stepped forward. "Your Honor, these are serious allegations with no bearing on today's proceedings." "I disagree," Monica countered. "This settlement requires me to maintain confidentiality about Whitley family matters. But I cannot in good conscience sign away my right to speak the truth, especially when that truth impacts more than just my children." She turned to face Ryan directly. "You've been searching for this diary, haven't you? That's what you were looking for in our apartment. That's why someone broke into my hotel room. You're not afraid of the property claims. You're afraid of what the diary reveals about how your family acquired that land in the first place." Ryan's face had gone pale. "Monica, don't do this. The diary proves the Riverside property was taken from its rightful owners through document fraud during Reconstruction," she continued, addressing the judge but watching Ryan. "The original owners were freed slaves who had been granted the land legally. Your great-great-grandfather falsified transfer documents and used local officials to force them out." A heavy silence filled the chamber. "These are serious accusations," Judge Patterson said finally. "Do you have corroborating evidence?" "The diary references specific documents in the county archives, documents I've now located and authenticated." Monica handed over another file. "This land wasn't just taken from any freed slaves. It was taken from my ancestors." The revelation landed like a thunderclap. Even Eliza looked shocked. This was the one piece Monica had kept to herself, working with a genealogist in secret to confirm the connection. "My great-great-grandmother worked that land after emancipation," Monica explained. "Her name appears in Elizabeth Whitley's diary as the woman who cursed our family when we stole her birthright. I'm not just fighting for my children's inheritance as Whitleys. I'm reclaiming a legacy that was stolen from my own family generations ago. Ryan stood abruptly. This is absurd. You can't possibly prove. DNA doesn't lie, Monica interrupted. The genealogist report confirms it. This property has ties to both sides of our children's heritage, which makes them the first people in over a century with legitimate claim to all of it. Judge Patterson removed her glasses, studying Monica with new interest. Mrs. Whitley, are you rejecting the settlement offer? I'm proposing an alternative. Monica pulled out a different document. Not a private settlement, but a public restructuring. The creation of a foundation that acknowledges the property's complex history and uses its resources to address historical injustices while preserving the legitimate business interests of both families. She handed copies to everyone present. This framework establishes a trust governed by representatives from both lineages. It maintains the Whitley name on the business enterprises, but acknowledges the Jackson family's historical claim to the land. Most importantly, it removes the secrecy that has allowed generations of injustice to continue. Ryan flipped through the document, disbelief evident in his expression. You expect us to publicly admit that our family stole this land? I expect you to acknowledge history honestly, Monica replied. To give our children a legacy they can be proud of instead of one built on secrets and suppression. Judge Patterson reviewed both documents carefully. This is highly unusual, Mrs. Whitley. You're rejecting $25 million in favor of a more complex arrangement with uncertain financial outcomes. I'm choosing truth over silence, Your Honor. Justice over convenience. James Patterson leaned over to whisper urgently in Ryan's ear, but Ryan waved him off, studying Monica with newfound respect. You knew, he said quietly. All this time, you knew the connection between our families. I suspected after reading your grandmother's diary. The genealogist confirmed it last week. Monica met his gaze steadily. Our children aren't just Whitleys, Ryan. They're Jacksons too. They deserve to know their full heritage, the painful parts and the proud ones. Ryan looked down at the twins, truly seeing them perhaps for the first time, not just as extensions of himself or obligations to fulfill, but as complex beings carrying multiple histories in their DNA. I need to consult with my father, he said finally. William already knows, Monica replied gently. Why do you think he gave me the diary? He's been carrying this truth his whole life, watching his father and grandfather maintain the lies. He wanted someone to finally break the cycle. At what point does justice become more important than peace? Would you sacrifice guaranteed millions for the principle of what's right? When history and blood intertwine across generations, sometimes the most revolutionary act is simply refusing to accept the convenient lie that money can buy silence for truth that demands to be spoken. 6 months later, Monica stood on the broad veranda of the riverside property, watching autumn leaves drift onto manicured lawns that stretched toward the water. The transformation of the estate had begun, not in its physical appearance, which remained as gracefully imposing as ever, but in its purpose and governance. The newly established Whitley-Jackson Historical Foundation occupied the main house now, its mission carved into a bronze plaque by the entrance, honoring our complex past, building a more just future. The foundation's board included representatives from both families, with Monica serving as its first executive director. The school group is here, called a familiar voice. Diana Rodriguez, now heading the foundation's educational initiatives, gestured toward a bus turning into the long driveway. I'll be right there, Monica replied, taking a final moment of quiet. The journey from that cold hospital room to this sunlit veranda had been neither straight nor simple. The revised agreement had ultimately been signed after 2 more weeks of negotiation, not in a judge's chambers, but in William Whitley's rehabilitation facility, with the patriarch himself insisting on being present despite his physical limitations. You did what I couldn't, he had told Monica after the signing, his speech still slurred from the stroke. Broke the chain. Ryan had surprised everyone by embracing the new arrangement with unexpected commitment. His initial resistance had given way to something like relief once the burden of generational secrets lifted. He visited the twins regularly now, awkwardly at first, but with growing confidence. Not a reconciliation with Monica. That bridge had burned beyond repair, but a genuine attempt at fatherhood. The Jackson side of Monica's family had struggled more with the revelation, uncomfortable with publicity and suspicious of Whitley intentions. Only in recent weeks had her father begun to engage with the Foundation's work, reluctantly acknowledging that Monica had achieved something meaningful. Cassie had ultimately taken her settlement and moved to California, but not before providing evidence that helped restructure several Whitley business practices. Bethany Crane now ran the Foundation's program for single mothers, turning her own painful experience into support for others. In the distance, Monica could see the twins playing in their supervised outdoor area. 10 months old now, crawling everywhere, their personalities emerging more distinctly each day. Miles with Ryan's determination, Zora with Monica's observant calm, both carrying histories they would someday need to understand. Her phone buzzed with a message from Alexander. Board meeting confirmed for Thursday. William feeling strong enough to call in. Then another notification. The Foundation's first major grant had been approved, funding research in similar land appropriation cases across the South. Monica descended the steps to greet the approaching school group, high school students from the county where she'd given birth alone less than a year ago. They would be the first to tour the exhibition documenting both the Whitley family's business achievements and the Jackson family's struggle for recognition. "Welcome to Riverside," she said as they gathered around. "This place has many stories to tell, some beautiful, some painful, all true. Today, you'll hear the full history for the first time. After fighting a battle that changed your life, would you grant forgiveness to those who never thought you deserved power? What does your answer reveal about your character? Sometimes the greatest victory isn't in destroying what hurt you, but in transforming it into something that serves a purpose larger than revenge or even justice, a legacy built on truth rather than comfort, belonging to future generations who will judge us by what we dare to change."